Hello everyone, my name is Al. Thanks for tuning in to Kindred Souls of Brooklyn. And folks, this is the second episode of Bat Chat. So we're really blessed tonight to have Luis here with us, Luis Quevedo, who's an expert on comics of all kinds. So with no further ado, we're going to turn it over to Luis. We're going to have a little interview back and forth here. And we're going to have some really cool topics tonight that we're going to talk about. Thanks for tuning in. Luis, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the viewers?
Well, my name's Luis Quevedo. I'm from Puerto Rico. Moved to Florida in 2001, and I've been here ever since. Big comic book fan, like Al said. First movie I ever watched was Batman, 1989 Batman. So that was where, the love of Bruce Wayne and Batman came along. Which was, interesting because it was the movie before it was ever the comic books. It was years before I ever read a Batman comic book. And in fact, there was other things that pulled me in, but that's always been kind of the first love was Batman. So.
And now they're going back to that Michael Keaton type Batman with the Robert Pattinson movie coming out soon.
Yeah,
are they kind of doing a little throwback to that?
It's got more of that almost gritty feel of that original Tim Burton movie, where the color palette is much more like subdued. I thought the same thing when I watched the trailer, and they may actually go back around to it yet again.
Really?
They're doing a Flash movie.
Okay.
And he's going to explore different timelines or different Earths. One of them being Michael Keaton's Batman.
Oh, I've seen some of this on the internet, like photographs of his suit, and he's much older now.
Right, yeah, and a lot of that stuff hasn't been finalized or details aren't known, but it'll be fun to revisit an older, grizzled Batman,
Huh.
But yeah, when I saw that you were doing the Bat Chats, we discussed, let's do a video together. We'll do more than one, but had two interesting things to show tonight. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I like collecting comic books. It's a good hobby, but it's a bad hobby because it tends to get expensive. Now, not nobody, but if you want a Detective Comics 27, first Batman appearance, you're looking to drop about $1 million. I mean, the thing is...
Wait, did you say $1 million?
Or above that.
Holy cow. I'm going to go out scouring the comic book stores. Any chance of me finding one?
No, that's going to be another entire challenge, is actually finding one. In fact, if you go online right now, you will be able to buy single pages from that book. And most of those pages will sell for hundreds of dollars.
So theoretically, I'm just throwing something out because I'm a Batman fan. He's my favorite DC character, and I love Harley Quinn too because she's from Brooklyn. She talks like me, right? Or whatever. If I got individual sheets of that, let's just say theoretically, I got all this, I don't know how many pages, let's say it's 40 pages, and I put all those together and had a cover and all that, would that be worth anything per se?
Yeah, it would be. Obviously, the more pieces of the book that you have, the more it's worth. In fact, I just recently saw, again, it's a lot of dreaming with these things because I don't have the thousands of dollars to drop on a lot of these books, but I saw a Journey into Mystery number 83 recently. First Thor appearance, from Marvel Comics. It was an incomplete book. The covers are still intact, but the inside of the book only has a portion of the story.
Okay.
Even with an unintact book, it's selling for $500, $600.
Wow.
And that's a book that sells for much higher than that once it's complete. Coliseum of Comics, a local shop here.
Right, it's a local store around the Kissimmee area.
They had a copy that had a trimmed top.
In
fact, it was really difficult to see. They sent it in. They were thinking about getting it graded and looked at. And the guy that works there, the back issue manager Jack, he shows it to me and he says, "Yeah, we're not doing it because this thing has a defect. Can you see it?" And I'm looking at the book, and I was actually able to see it. The top of the book had been trimmed.
Wow.
Likely it had suffered some kind of water damage or something.
Right.
And they did it to make the book look nicer, but that's not an intact book, so it lessens the value. But even then, they were selling the thing for $3,000.
Wow. So I guess my question would be like, obviously you said people don't have the money for all these comics, but like, what would you recommend, like in terms of Batman wise? What should someone like? What's feasible to look for if you go to say Coliseum Comics? I mean, what am I likely to find, or what should I actually buy if I was a Batman fan looking to maybe make some money or start trading some stuff?
If you're looking to invest, that's different. You might want to look at different options. Golden Age Batman, which would be 40s up to about 56 or 57.
Now, why do they call it the Golden Age?
Well, the Golden Age of comics is called that because that's when superheroes were the thing. Before that, a lot of comics were war comics. I mean, they still were war comics, but westerns, things of that sort.
Right.
But during the Golden Age, you have Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, mostly big DC characters. Marvel, which wasn't Marvel at the time, had Captain America, Namor the Submariner, characters of that sort. And the Silver Age is when Marvel really blew up, and they had the Fantastic.
So when does the Silver Age start? 56, 57?
There's a clear marker when the Silver Age starts.
Really?
And that's when the second Flash debuts, showcase number 4, and that's when Barry Allen is the Flash. Whole new redesigned suit, and it's more sci-fi based.
So why does it go from golden to silver? What's the real distinction? What is the event that kind of categorizes the change?
The change is really the origin.
Okay.
At that point, a lot of books were influenced by science, or what was learned, or the evolution of the sciences at the time.
Okay.
So all the superheroes had some sort of scientific explanation for how they got their powers. The Flash had a chemical bath accident. He worked in the CSI lab.
Okay.
And lightning strike hits. All these chemicals blow up on him, and he gets super speed out of it.
Oh wow!
So all these superheroes that were debuting at the time had some kind of sci-fi tinge or explanation to
Got
them.
it.
But yeah. Anyway, as far as how do I get into these comic books, not many of us have $1.5 million to drop on Detective 27. But good news is there's reprints. So I bought some of my reprints today of 2 major Batman books. We'll start with the first one, which is the Detective Comics number 27. This is a graded copy by CGC. It's a 9.8, and it is sealed, preserved, all that. This particular copy is from a Loot Crate, which is a subscription service. They got the okay from DC to reprint the issue in its original format.
Okay.
It's not the same paper. Back then they used more like newspaper quality paper.
Right.
But to me it's beautiful. It's actually glossier than it normally would be.
So it's in that case, and it's got a 9.8 on it.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? It's 9.8 out of 10?
Yeah, it goes up to 10. 10 being a very rare occurrence. You don't see that come up very. So a 10.0 is a very rare occurrence. You don't see that come up very often. It's a book that has absolutely no defect, and you're not going to find a better copy than that.
Right.
They're 1 in a million.
Okay.
Unless it's a book that has a really hard cover.
Right.
That it's not likely to suffer any damage during shipping or
someone handling it.
Yeah. And every once in a while you see that. But
now, how much does it cost to get it like that? Like in that, graded, I guess you'd say.
A graded copy would be.
Because what's the process? You send it away to a store?
Yeah, actually, CGC. There's multiple. My apologies. Multiple grading companies.
Okay.
CGC is just my favorite, but there's CBCS, there's PGX, there's a couple of newer ones. But what they do is they take the book, they go over it, they look at it page by page, wearing gloves, and they determine a grade, and that's the condition of the book. fair, poor, good, very good, fair, or fine, very fine, near mint.
So when you send it to them, you just send a comic like that, you mail it to them,
Yeah,
and then they put it in. How much does it cost to do that whole process?
It depends. I do it through a facilitator, and depending on the age of the book, could be $55, could be $70.
Okay, but that automatically raises the value of it.
Yeah.
So it isn't like you're losing that money. It's kind of like you're reinvesting it.
The reason why somebody would do something like this is oftentimes a collector will buy a book. Say I bought a comic from you,
right?
And you said, "Yeah, I'm selling this to you as a very fine condition book."
Right.
That's a very specific term. That means it fits within, anywhere between a 7.5 and a 9.0.
Okay.
Okay.
Very fine.
But you're determining that yourself. I sent that into CGC and it comes back a 5.0.
Right.
And I could get upset at you, but there are experts when it comes to the grading process.
Right.
But it's
subjective, I know.
It's subjective,
but at least it gives you a thing to start off with. I mean,
Sure.
like if I say it's a 7.5, then pretty much you're not going to say it's a 2.6.
Right, yeah.
You're going to be within a certain professional parameter. I just was asking that because I know for me, not being so much of a collector, someone out there might be wondering about how that process goes.
Oh yeah. And in fact, the CGC is actually located here in Florida. It's
Really?
in Sarasota. That's where their offices are located.
So you could actually drive there if you had to, right?
You can drop off books right there, yeah.
Nice. That's something to do, something to think of.
Yeah, but this particular book.
Yeah, we're actually in the Disney area, folks. So we're literally right across the street right now from Celebration. So we're pretty much on Disney property. So when I say drive to Sarasota, for us it wouldn't be so much of a drive. But anyway, that's just where that came from.
Yeah.
That's really great. I love that.
Yeah. This particular book, Detective Comics 27, Batman's first appearance, originally came out in 1939, and it was written and drawn by Bill Finger and Bob Kane.
Right.
Bob Kane being the better known figure out of the two of them, because Bob was, he was his own advertiser. He was very good at it. But the reason they created Batman was because in 1938, Superman was created, and that just exploded.
Right.
He was a really popular character.
He's like the franchise of DC, right?
Yeah, and in many ways, he can't really call him the first Golden Age hero because there were others before him.
Right.
But in many ways, he is kind of the one that launched the Golden Age.
Right.
So DC's looking to, strike lightning twice in the same spot, and they said, we want ideas. So Bob Kane draws up the Batman.
Okay.
And it's a very different figure from what we...
Now, was it called The Batman or Batman? Because that's been a different thing back and forth.
I think originally it had a hyphen.
The Batman.
Yeah. But,
Okay.
But Bill steps in and he says, yeah, let's get rid of the domino mask. Let's put an actual mask on it.
Ah.
And the Batman is birth, or Batman, whatever your preference. Funny thing about Bill Finger, you being a New Yorker.
Yeah.
But funny thing about Bill Finger and Bob Kane, they both went to DeWitt Clinton.
In the Bronx.
Yeah, in the Bronx High School, which was where Stan Lee went to school as well.
Wow,
So
what a
it's-
small world.
Yeah, two of the biggest comic book creators of all time. It's kind of funny how they went to the same high school.
That might be a video on of itself.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have like a comic book, an animation department or something over there.
There, you can find interviews that Stan and Bob did together, because they were both kind of similar in a sense. Bob was more, I think Bob took himself a little more seriously than Stan did.
Yeah.
But those are pretty funny interviews to look at when they.
I want
when
to
they
check
come
that
together.
out. It's really cool.
In fact,
See? Yeah.
that I think they interviewed each other when 1989 Batman was coming out.
Wow.
And Bob makes a jab at Stan, and he says, yeah, Batman's getting a movie. I'd love to see the day when Spider-Man gets a movie. And Stan, Bob died. But Stan always said, I wish Bob would have lived long enough to see Spider-Man get a movie. So,
wow.
yeah.
That would have been great.
Anyway, the contents of this book, it's not just Batman's first appearance. There's other stories inside. but it's the first appearance of two major characters, Batman and Commissioner Gordon.
Okay.
In fact, they're friends. And this isn't an origin story either. It's more of a detective story, Detective Comics. And the big reveal at the end of the story is that Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Wow.
So, and it's odd because you would think, okay, you know, Amazing Fantasy number 15, they lay out the complete origin of Spider-Man.
Right, right.
This book is not. It's just a simple adventure of Batman. That didn't happen until later.
So is there any, like, in that point in the story, is he doing this for 10 years? Is he doing it for 2 years? I mean, I know in the Robert Pattinson movie coming out, not that I'm getting paid for this, it seems like I keep plugging that movie, but I know it's like his second year of actual work.
Right.
What is the time frame in here? Is Batman doing this a long time, or?
I don't think they refer to that as far as what.
And there's no Robin, by the way, either.
No,
right?
no. Robin doesn't come in until later. In fact, Robin was brought in to be more appealing to younger kids as readers at the time.
Which is what year did they bring him in?
Robin gets brought in 1940.
Okay, so it's pretty early on.
It's fairly early on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning this too, folks. I just, as a fan,
But yeah, it's a beautiful book. To me, it's not the original, but it's funny because it's a late printing. This one came out in 2018.
Okay.
There is a copy of this that was reprinted much earlier than that. You had to mail in, I think it was Oreo UPCs.
Oh my gosh.
This was back, I think, in the 80s.
Wow.
And that particular copy was printed in old newspaper copy.
Wow.
But it's rough looking. I just decided to go with the prettier.
Yeah, that's much nicer.
Yeah.
What else did you bring?
So I brought a Batman #1. These are probably considered the two biggest Batman books you could have. Again, this is another copy that was printed as an exact copy of the original. So even the back of the book.
And that's Robin. That's obviously that's Dick Grayson.
Yeah. And I had to laugh when I got this book because it says cut out and frame on that back cover. And I just I thought to myself, poor book. I mean, they're encouraging the kid to destroy the book,
Imagine how many people did that and kicking themselves right now for doing that.
I mean, they'll still get $500,000 for the book if they have it. This is a 9.2 copy of Batman's first issue. Came out in 1940, and it's important for two reasons. Batman's first titled issue, but it's also the first appearance of the Joker and Catwoman.
Wow, the Joker, I think maybe next to Darth Vader, the best villain in history.
I tend to think, he's the greatest villain ever created.
Yeah.
But initially, the Joker was created to be a one-off bad guy.
Okay.
He shows up twice in the book. There's multiple stories within it. It's not like it's interlaced all together. But the Joker was meant to be like a one-off, and he became so popular that they decided to keep bringing him back.
Now back then, I guess people wrote in to say how popular the Joker was, or how did the producers know that he was so popular by writing in?
Well,
did people phone up on the phone, or?
This was back in the days when I guess people were more active into writing in for letters, columns, books, especially for Marvel. I mean, this is still 20 years before, or even more than 20 years before Marvel would start printing out, Spider-Man or Fantastic Four or any of those books.
What is so amazing to me is that I grew up in the 60s. Well, I was born in 65, but it looks like the Batman that I know the Adam West Batman. That's what started me off on a lot of people. And it's actually the same color as the Robin and the Batman costume is pretty much what they went with in the show.
Oh yeah.
So they had it established pretty early. His whole demeanor, basically figure Batman's typically 6'2", 240, world-class athlete.
Right.
That's pretty much what he is,
Oh yeah. There's a lot about the character that's remained uniform or universal.
Right.
From even back in the 30s at this point, because it was 1939 when he first showed up. But what sets these two books apart, now this is early on in Batman's career, one of the things that we know about Batman is Batman he doesn't use
superpowers.
No, that too. He doesn't use superpowers, but there's a mantra that he doesn't break.
Oh, he doesn't use guns.
Guns.
Right.
At this point, Batman actually still used guns.
Really?
And there's a body count in Detective Comics of like 3 or 4 individuals that he actually kills in that. Batman also doesn't kill, but
he did it in these.
In this book, in both of these books, yeah, he's...
And when did that actually start? Like 41? And they just decided he's not going to start killing people?
I believe they get rid of the guns that... Because they were actually a part of the costume.
Wow.
He actually carried a holster.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, you won't see that anymore, especially after early appearances.
When I think of like guns on a belt, I think of Captain America.
Yeah, more like Captain America or a character like that. But yeah, Batman doesn't carry guns or doesn't kill, but that wasn't the case.
Now, were these standard guns, or were they like specially designed for him, or was it just like a standard 38 or whatever?
Yeah, the thing looked like, a 45 or
okay.
I guess it wouldn't be a 45 at that point, but...
Yeah, they had them for World War II, and had 44 caliber then.
Yeah,
it was military.
Yeah, that's true,
It was a military issue.
Right. But, yeah, it's interesting, too, because Catwoman wasn't known as Catwoman at that point.
Really?
Selina Kyle is a thief in her first appearance, a jewel thief, but she's only known as the Cat.
Ah.
And she's in disguise. She's disguised as an older woman on this yacht during the heist or this plan to steal jewels. But the Catwoman that we know and love and we've grown accustomed to,
right?
She actually doesn't show up in her costume until many issues later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a big character.
Yeah, and it's they're mainstays because they've been around for so long.
So then you talk about the Joker. Does he look like the Joker that we know, or is it the clown idea, or?
Yeah, that's one thing that the Oriole reprint of Detective Comics 27 reprints one of the original pages on the back cover of the Joker's first appearance, and the smile is there. It's a very toothy grin. But one thing that I find interesting is I always assumed that the Joker gas, one of the Joker's, signature moves.
Yeah.
It kills you with a grin. You die with a grin on your face. That's what it does. I always assumed that was brought in later. No, it makes its first appearance in Batman.
Well, that's incredible.
So a lot of those things were in place, and they were just so classic that they've stuck through these.
Such creative minds, and well, it's like everything else. When you have a really good idea, it goes on forever because people just like it, no matter what generation it is. People just love Batman. It's my favorite character. I mean, nothing against Superman to Superman fans out there, but to me, I've always been Batman. I love the fact that he was the world's greatest detective. He took after Sherlock Holmes. He's just a regular guy. I think because everyone kind of thinks they can be Batman at one point, whereas Superman, you're not from another world, so you pretty much can't be Kal-El,
Yeah. And that's one thing that's really brought out on the first issue too.
Yeah.
One of the storylines from this first issue is a reprint of I think it's Detective Comics 34, which was when Batman's origin was detailed. The night of going out to the theater, they walk out through the alley. Joe Chill is there. He rips the pearl necklace and shoots both parents.
Right.
And he makes a solemn vow. But that's reprinted here, and you get the whole gist of Batman within that first issue. You didn't have to read any of Detective Comics
to know that.
Yeah, they'll tell you.
It's such and that's part of the thing too. Is it's such a deep character. It's like Superman is the Boy Scout. It's simple for him. With Batman, he's always struggling with these psychological issues. He's just, to me, always seemed like a more interesting character. More human in a sense, obviously, in a sense where people struggle with these things every day. You're a doctor, you go into work, and you got to deal with, now you got the COVID thing going on, or you're a police officer, and you got all the racial injustice stuff going on. And so it just seems like a more believable character, or a more character of depth,
Well, that's one thing that sets him apart from all other DC characters, is the comic book hero wasn't flawed or wasn't humanized until Stan Lee creates a Fantastic Four.
Right. What year was that now?
Fantastic Four were 1961. And
so in these comics, Batman's really not flawed. They don't really go into these psychological sides and stuff.
I bring that up because Stan and Jack Kirby, because both of them deserve equal measure of recognition. They changed the game by making these characters more
human, I guess.
More human, yeah. All of a sudden, there's bickering within the Fantastic Four. They're a family unit, and they fight, they bicker. You know, they're normal.
Yeah, yeah.
Peter Parker, he's a young kid. He's having a hard time at school. He's not a jock. He's not a hero until he gets bit. But he goes through the challenges of life. You know, that human touch was what set those comic books apart, and really what made them popular. But Batman from the very beginning was, you know, an everyman in a sense, because he didn't have superpowers. He was rich. He's a millionaire here. He's a billionaire now. But anybody could have been Batman.
Exactly.
And that's what's always set the character apart.
And that's what I think makes him so fantastic. I mean, I just, you know, can't say enough good things about Batman. And that's why it's been in so many incarnations through the years. And it's going to continue. Yeah. I mean, long after Robert Pattinson gives up the mantle, I think someone else is going to take it on.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's going to be, in a sense, immortal. Because again, anybody can be the character.
Exactly.
And anybody will be the character, I'm sure.
I mean, now that I'm getting older, going to be 55, I kind of more interested in like the older Batman, like, you know, the Batman that they came out in, The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
When he's kind of at the end of his career and he's kind of, you know, struggling. And I would love to see a movie where like Batman was older and it was kind of at the end, and maybe he was fighting Bane or somebody strong like that, and like they have this ultimate like wrestling match, and then like, I don't know, Batman wins the fight, but he wins. That's kind of like a weird thing. Like the guy maybe slips on a banana peel and he knocks himself out, and Batman comes out saying, "Wow, yeah, I won, but I'm getting too old to be doing this." You know.
Well, not to go too long, but The Dark Knight Returns is a fabled Batman story.
Yeah.
Where, you know, an older grizzled Batman, he retires and he comes back to try to save the city. Because
the mutants have taken over.
Yeah, things actually get really bad.
Which is a gang, everyone knows. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the animated series Batman Beyond. If you do anything else, just look up the first episode.
Terry McGinnis.
That's right. But before Terry McGinnis shows up, they do a flashback of Batman. An older Batman, maybe in his 50s, and he is he's noticeably grayed, and he's out on a night on patrol.
Right.
But he's at a point where he can't keep up the way he used to.
Okay.
And he actually gets beat up by the thugs, you know, the criminals that he's after.
Yeah.
And to the point that he picks up a gun, and the criminals obviously just leave him be and they run off.
And that's when he knows he's kind of done.
But he looks at the gun and he says, "Okay, it's time to retire." And you know, he becomes a recluse, and that's when Terry McGinnis comes in and he becomes.
How many years is between that point of him retiring and that was probably a whole other video, but how many years is between that span? Is there like is it 10 years that there's
from
the time Batman retires till Terry McGinnis takes on the mantle?
Oh, it's a number of years. In a sense, he never gives up being Batman because he's still vigilant over things, but he's not putting on the suit anymore.
Okay.
And other heroes take up his place too. You know, he's
right, because it's Nightwing. Yeah.
Nightwing. Yeah.
I'm a big Nightwing fan. I mean, you know, I know this video is going really long. I hope you guys are enjoying this. We're going to do a lot more of these, we hope, and, you know, going forward. Because, folks, if you guys don't know, Luis is one of the directors on the foundation. We lost our son, Kerry and I, who's not in the video. Our son passed away through suicide a year ago. And we're doing a foundation. It's called the Waffles Foundation. And Luis was kind enough to become one of the directors with me on the foundation. And the idea is going to be giving out musical instruments to kids who are in need. And so we're going to be starting this up. We're waiting for our official 501(c). All the paperwork is in. It's September 2020. So we're hoping by October 1st or so, we should be able to launch this thing. So anyway, just wanted to tell you guys that. And we know this has been a long video, but we're going to keep doing more of these things. It's just been so interesting.
It might be stuff you already knew. You maybe learn something new, or maybe it's all stuff you never heard before. But you know, that's kind of the idea of the Bat Chats, is to do a deeper dive into some of the stuff here.
And you know, I was surprised because I came up with this idea for the first. This is episode 2. I did the first one myself about Harley Quinn, and I looked up Bat Chat, and there was nothing. I can't believe no one ever really thought of that idea, but I just thought it was a cool idea, so I called Luis up, and I was like, Luis, I mean, what do you think of this? He thought it was a great idea, and we got together tonight, and we just figured we would kick this off, and hopefully, you know, there's so many topics. We want to do one on Alfred, because my name is Alfred, Alfred the Butler. We want to do one on Robin, all the different Robins that were out there. What other ones do you want? Any ideas for different ones?
We could do one on all the villains. I mean, that's the one thing that kind of sets Batman apart from. I mean, all superheroes have the rogues gallery,
right?
But it's hard to beat. I mean, Spider-Man might be a close second, but nobody's got better villains than
other than Lex Luthor and Superman. I think he's a good villain.
He's my number 2 as far as villains go. But yeah, he's Superman just doesn't have the rogues.
He doesn't have doesn't have it. Wow. Well, folks, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I want to thank Luis for all his knowledge and all the things that he's done, being a part of the foundation and bringing his comic books with him. If you guys have a question, we have you can drop a comment on this video. We'd love some suggestions for future topics. You could reach us through wafflesfoundation@gmail.com. That's the official email for the Waffles Foundation, or you can just drop a comment on this one. We'd appreciate it. And if you can subscribe, that's awesome, because all the money that's made on this channel is going into the Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So we'd really appreciate that. The channel was just monetized last month. You know, it actually took me 3 years to get monetized.
Yeah, I know. It can take a while. I know.
Well, it did for me. 300 videos, and you know, 3 years. You need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, which is pretty hard to get. So I just kind of stuck with it, you know.
And I think it's a pride point. I mean, you should be proud of that achievement.
I guess you know, I'm Irish, so it's either I'm proud or I'm stubborn. One of the Heaven knows my wife Carrie is suffering through a lot of videos. If you look back at my videos, especially when Carrie's hungry, oh my God, let me go eat. I don't want to be in a video right now. She's kind of like the person in the Snickers commercial. But anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed it this time with us. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And Luis, any final thoughts?
Yeah, we'll be back next time. Same bat time and same bat channel, right? No, we can't take it. We can't. That's not ours. But I always wanted to say that.
We'll borrow it.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you so much. Oh, and I want to give a good thank you to Gina, Luis's wife, for being the camera person during this one. She's done a wonderful job. Thank you, Gina. She's quiet. Have a great day, folks. Thank you. Bye-bye.